Welcome everyone. Let's take a deep breath, right? Thank you so much for being here, and I know it's just a lot of going on. It's Sunday, and the fact that you are here, it's so like meaningful. So I will just invite all of us to just take a deep breath. I don't know how it's been your week, but our week it's
been a little bit crazy for sure.
So this conversation is really about not just this beautiful exposition of art, but also the journey, the liberating and an empowering journey that can be, just be able to create opportunities for ourselves, because nobody will do it, to speak our voices, and in that also create opportunities for other women, and also give voice to women that don't have that voice. And we start this we just start just having a little like a grounding, why we are doing this. I will just start like why we are doing this.
So I also want to thank the men that are in this room, because you're supporting us in Women's History Month, and it's important to acknowledge men holding space for women as well, because we are in a world that we are co-creating together, and we need each other to make things happen. So thank you so much for all the men that are here.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for all the women that are here, of course, supporting other women. Thank you to my best friend, Fiorella Amado. And it's awesome because, I mean, it's been a very overwhelming month with a lot of deadlines and a lot of things going on. And we had the idea to do this talk, and I was kind of like flaking out because I was like, it's too much. And then I expressed to Fiorella how I was feeling, and Fiorella's like, let's do this talk together. Let's do it. Let's do a great closing for this show to honor also the other artists that are here. Ilse, Colu, Anna Sofia, Baku, Beth, Pandora. So yeah, we had to like do a really strong closing to give the honor to this show, the honor that it deserves. So thank you so much for jumping in with me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the mission of Warmipura. I am the CEO and co-founder of Warmipura, a non-profit organization focused on women empowerment. Based in Peru and in New York now, since I'm here. So I'm just saying hello to everyone who is watching us, because it's really like all about like honoring, all these women. And we were talking about also about the women of our lineage, right? Mm-hmm. And how they didn't have voices, and how important it is for us, because it's not easy be a woman of color in this country doing and pursuing your passions and just really like moving forward. So I feel like it's also for us that even it's being so bumpy, we say we need to do it, because if we have the opportunity to take the space, share our stories, we are also opening the path for the ones that are not here. So this is kind of the introduction, and I think so everyone knows, but I just want to introduce Arantxa.
Hi.
She's a Mexican artist, very talented. But something that I admire about Arantxa, beyond that is my dearest friend, is she is so passionate and determined to do what she do, and she really go for it. And that's something that I admire. And I think so as women, it's like we need to do a little bit more sometimes, right? It's like we need to do a little bit more. And in this journey, it's just like, okay, we are here to support each other. So please feel free to just jump into the conversation. This is just the same people here watching us, make questions, whatever. It's just about conversation, and we love to just get also some of your story that you want to share. That will be so amazing.
Yeah, and feedback. Like if you feel that you want to ask us a question in the middle of a conversation, like we're not going to do questions at the end. Like this is meant to be a dialogue. So it's super chill. We're all here in circle, you know, it's not like a talk. It's meant to be a dialogue. Yeah.
Okay, so when is now, right?
When is now is the name of the talk, because the show is, if it's not now, then when. So that's why we decided to name the talk When is Now.
Because the when is now. It's not tomorrow. We were talking about, we don't know if we'll be alive in 10 years. We don't know.
I know we're going to be alive tomorrow.
When is now? So one of the things that came up since the beginning was, for me, when we were discussing what it means to connect to your highest form of creation. What it means that, because that's something that, what it means, like one of the artists having in one of her pieces something that we carry chaos in our skin and thunder in our heart, and that made me think about like creating from this highest form, embracing light and dark, right?
So I think the first thing that we have to talk about is, what does it mean to create from your highest form of creation? And then another conversation would be how to connect with that, right? Because it's not only creating from your highest form of creation, but what does it mean, like your highest form of creation, right? Like that's
for you.
That's important.
For you, for example.
So I would say that creating from my highest form is when I do create something that I'm fully present in it. When I'm like fully in the moment, knowing what I'm gonna do, not like all over the place. And something that I have to say as well is that this talk now, it's happening after like 3 weeks that I've been through a lot of chaos in my life. I've been through a sort of breakup, a lot of deadlines with work, and what I was telling Fiorella is, I'm not sure if we can do this talk because I am not really grounded right now. I'm all over the place, it's been chaos. And then part of me thought like, okay, every time that we do like a public thing or like a showing, like do we have to be all the time in our prime? Do we always have to be vibrating in our highest self? No, like we're humans, we're vulnerable, so let's just do this talk as it is. So right now, today, I have to say that I'm not in my strongest place, that I'm not like vibrating high as in other times I am, you know, and let's just do this talk raw and as it is, because we're not all the time in the best place that we can be. So I think that connecting to my highest form of creation at the end of the day is just connecting fully present in the state that I'm in. When I want to force something like, oh, this has to be great or this has to be somewhat else, is not the same way as if I'm just like, I'm gonna do this just exactly the way that is happening, you know.
And it's perfect, because that's the thing. It's really like for me as an entrepreneur, I started a nonprofit in Peru, came here as an immigrant 4 years ago, and I was like, okay, my conditions were very fortunate comparing to most of women that came to this world, to this part of the world. But it's been also very important to understand that create from this highest place, as Arantxa just said, it's not like butterflies and joy, and it's been a freaking hard journey. And it takes so much courage to stand up in your feet, and even when you don't feel like you want to do it, you just need to do it. That's courage, and accept that. And I think so, as an entrepreneur for myself, it's okay. We do our best, and we just need to show up. And for me, that's also creating from this highest place, is embracing my light, the darkness that is all the time interplaying. It's not that just a linear path. It's bumps, ups and downs. And that's, for me, when I'm able to embrace that in the present moment, it becomes this. It's the highest form because it's not just like a sugar-coated, right?
That's what I was going to say. I think that creating from your highest form of creation is creating from your true self at the end of the day. Whether that self is you're in a very dark place, you're very depressed, you're all over the place, you're not taking care of yourself, like just embrace that. Or maybe sometimes you're in the best place possible, but creating from your highest form of creation. I think it's creating from your truth, that truth that you are bringing, that you are doing in that moment,
and how that begins to that piece.
I think that's a good opportunity. So
to share that.
So all the work in the back is it's I created all the work in the back, but the main piece that I created specially for this show, it's this one in the corner. Like that piece was created specially for the show, and it's called An Evening of Healing. And it all happened because while I was making it, I mean, of course, like I start making it with an idea. Also, the way that I do my pieces is I let the piece guide me through the process. I mean, of course, there's always a process of planning, right? Right now I'm working a lot with paper. I'm working a lot with lighter. I'm like burning a lot of my pieces. The X-Acto knife is like one of my main tools. The stapler is one of my main tools as well. So I'm like, okay, this is the idea that I want to do for this piece. And I have like an idea in my head, but when I start using the materials and I start putting them together, I let them guide me. Like I'm like, I think this paper would look better this way. Okay, I'm gonna try it this way. So there's pieces that I make that I have an idea in my head, and at the end they turn out being completely another piece as I planned it, because I let the materials dictate myself. Sometimes I think that if I lived my life the way that I create my work, it would be way different. I wish that I could live my life the way that I create my pieces, because I really let the pieces guide me through their process, and I don't live my life that way exactly. I'm a control freak. I'm all the time like, okay, we have this plan, and if someone like moves me an hour or moves me a date, I'm like, oh, whoa, I mean, yes, because I have a lot of things on my plate, but why don't I just let one process guide me to the other process? Why don't I let a thing that's happening in my life open up the space for another thing to happen, and then I can flow with the wave of life. And that is how I create. So for this piece, I was putting it together, and a friend of mine, she wanted to talk to me. She was going through like a hard time, and I'm like, come over to my place. You can like sit down in front of me while I work, and we can have tea, and I can like keep on working on this piece, but while we're here having a conversation. So she came to my studio, and I was creating the piece, and literally all this piece was the final touches of this piece. When I ensembled it and I was like almost ready to be ready, it happened while I was having like all this deep conversation with her. So when I finished the piece, I'm like, okay, I think it's ready to, I'm ready to name the piece. And that happens all the time in my work. I create the piece and then I name it. It's very rare if I have a title and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna create under this title. It's always like the other way around. I create it and then the title comes. And when I finish this piece, I'm like, this piece is gonna be called An Evening of Healing. And it's funny because it's like a quilt, you know, it's like a quilt, it's like a chocolate, it's super warm, it's super organic, it's super feminine. So I'm like, yeah, this is the piece exactly for this show, to honor Women's Month. And it's not that because we're women, we're delicate and we're feminine and we're flowers. Like, no, we're strong as well, you know. So this piece is also like a mix with metal and the softness that's around it. So I think this piece like really conveys how I see this show for Women's Month.
Wow. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Can you tell them about the other stuff?
Do you want me to talk about my other piece now?
Go ahead, because I feel like you will sense the difference.
I opened that can, right?
You will see the difference between that. I know your work, so when I saw that's Arantxa, I was so, go ahead, because it's completely different of the rest of the pieces, right?
Yeah, it's my newest work has to do a lot with paper and cutouts, and it's like my new kind of thing. So this piece here, I would say that this is the oldest piece in the show. It's called Universal Compassion, because I made it for my thesis. The reason that I'm in New York City is I had the opportunity to come to study a master's in fine arts. I was very fortunate. I was very privileged to get the chance to have the support of my family to come to New York. I was planning to stay 2 years for the master's, and then things unrolled. I was able to get the artist visa and stay here, and so that's why I've been 5 years here. But that's one of the pieces that I created for my thesis in SVA, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my thesis.
The name, what is the name?
The name is Universal Compassion, but the name of my thesis is called The Thread That Weaves Us All, because I went to Oaxaca, to a town called Teotitlán del Valle, that it's a town that is very famous for weaving, and I had the opportunity to sit with the community and talk to them how they build the strings. I have like a little connection to my country, a little connection to my roots. And then I came back to New York City, and 7 years ago I started studying Tibetan Buddhism, which is like my strong spiritual practice. And then I study art. So my thesis was about the perfect triangle between my contemporary art practice, my Mexican roots, and my spiritual path. So the way that I created these pieces, all made with a natural dyed yarn that I got in Oaxaca, I started stapling in an active meditation. So this one's called Universal Compassion because I used a verse from a long meditation that englobes the compassion between all human beings. So as I was stapling, I was like, may all beings be happy, may all beings always find peace and happiness. So as I was stringing each piece, I was literally with all my mind in the meditation all the time. Then I took a break and then I went back on it, but I made sure that every time that I was stapling a yarn, my mind was all the time going through the meditation.
This prayer.
All in this prayer. It's a meditation and it's a prayer, exactly. So that's how I created this piece, and there's another piece called Mind Observing Mind, and the way that I did that meditation, I had no verse, I had no prayer. It was literally just my mind observing my mind while I was creating it. So I stapled the yarn and I just observed all the thoughts that came in my mind and just let them go and like staple and just observe, mind observing mind. And then there's another piece called Death and Impermanence, where again I got like a prayer and a meditation that talked about literally like letting go, and that the present moment is now, and that tomorrow we don't know what's going to happen. So I did that whole piece in that meditation. So it's a series of like 4 pieces, all based on different meditations.
So you will say that your practice itself of your art also help you to ground and go to that inner space?
100%.
Because this here, I found it like I spend most of the time in the Catskills, upstate New York, in the Buddhist community where we met. So coming to the city is like I always say to her, like, how do you access to that inner space in a city that is constantly pulling us out and out and out? And it's just like, wow, it's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, of course, New York is a place that is full of like stimulus, and it's very energetic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we wish that we could create or meditate in like a mountain or nature. And honestly, it's good to go out to those places kind of to like ground ourselves and like get the power to come back to like more noisy places. But the places, like, we don't need monks in a mountain. We need monks in the middle of Times Square at 6 p.m. You know, I feel that the world nowadays is coming to a point where we need like all the light warriors, to call it in a way, like in the middle of the city. Like, here's where we need the work. So the way that I see it is New York City for me has like become a teacher, that I'm kind of like putting all those understandings and all those lessons in real time here. Because it challenges me all the time. So if I'm here walking in the like in all the stimulus and all the adrenaline, and I'm like, woo, it's like, okay, this is a reminder to go inward. This is a reminder to like center myself, you know. And then, I mean, we all live here, you know, and if we don't live here with the people that has come here, or even we see it in the movies, you know, you're walking in the street and you're seeing suffering all the time. Like, we see homeless people that are really going through a hard time, or we see people shouting on the phone, super stressed out, and all that is an opportunity to, again, like bring us back to compassion, you know. So New York City, for me, it's a city that is, that always takes you outward, also because of the work and the deadlines and the emails and the things that you're seeing on the street
that you can control.
That you can't control, but all those are cues and reminders to take it inward all the time, to practice patience, to practice compassion, to practice just going to like that center.
Yes, like for me, it's that, because as women, as female, we talk about like, and you, the precious guys audience, I know you hear about a lot like, okay, women's empowerment, but what did that really means, women's empowerment? And as the CEO of a women empowerment organization, and we are focused on that, and it's been a huge questioning, and how we also at the beginning think like, okay, empowerment comes from financial independence as women. It's been a long journey. But then empowerment really comes from within, where if we are really able to stay tapped in our power in the midst of the chaos that is happening outside that we cannot control, that is really the power that we are talking about. So going back to inside, to our body, for me as a feminine embodiment facilitator, because I work with women to just guide them to be back into the body, because it's so much going on and it's so much information happening outside, and how important is just go inside to get information from inside, how we are really feeling inside. And I think so for me, that's very important when we talk about women empowerment, when we talk about what it means, even if not just woman, as a human, what it means be in my power, as a human being. Being in my power as a human being is be able to really know what is happening inside myself.
But
and then I can regulate, and then I can perform, and then I can behave and act and do whatever I need to do. Okay, I need to move from here to there. But and that's, I feel like, the tricky part, but I feel like exactly is what we, at the end of the day, need to have so much awareness.
So I think that like a common misconception is that, and again, I connect this to the beginning of the talk where I start this talk saying like, I'm in a very vulnerable place right now. I think we get confused as people that it doesn't matter if you're woman or man. I mean, here we're talking about women empowerment because it's a talk about women and Women's Month, right? But sometimes we're like, okay, let me connect to my power. But I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm going through a really hard time. I don't feel powerful at all. How am I gonna connect to my power? So this conversation of connecting to my power feels like my power is here and I'm here. How am I gonna connect there? So sometimes we feel that we need to be in the best possible positive state to connect to our power. And I think that to connect to our power is completely the opposite way. I feel that to connect to our power is being able to see the darkest places in ourselves and look at them in the eye. I think that connecting to our power doesn't mean trying to reach that place of light. I think that connecting to our power is being connected to that place of the darkest of our darkest self.
Yeah, go in.
So it's going
but
like,
that's why you need to go in.
I'm having the exact.
You just need to go in.
I'm having the worst anxiety right now.
Right?
Let me observe this anxiety right now. Today it's a day that I don't want to wake up, that I don't want to like go, just like and see it and embrace it and don't fight with it, because we're all the time fighting to be in the best place possible, and we're fighting and we're trying to reach that best place possible. When if we see our trauma, that it's not easy seeing our trauma because that triggers other things. If we see our sadness, like if we just embrace our darkest corners,
yes.
When we learn to embrace our darkest corners and our darkest corners become our friends, and then we're like, okay, perfect, and then that's when we go to the light. But we're all the time trying to reach our light when we don't embrace the darkest corners that like pull us, and so it becomes like overwhelming battle of how I'm gonna empower myself if I feel like shit. Feel like shit and accept that you're feeling this way, and accept that you're going through this hell, and that like my nails are almost bleeding because I've been having the worst anxiety this past 3 weeks, you know, and I have a headache because I haven't been sleeping correctly, and I have a fight with my mom, and I'm breaking up with my boyfriend, and just like embrace all that darkness, see it in the eyes, become friends with it. And once you're able to say, hey, the monsters are not that bad, then you jump. Then you jump. But I think that like, oh, women empowerment is not just, like, oh, feeling powerful. It's the journey to get to like that.
It's about going inside. That's why.
How do you go inside?
It's just turning inside, and when you go inside, you just see whatever is present, right?
But how do you go
But
inside? That's another
that's the
conversation
thing,
that we have to have.
because this is when it comes to the other point, what about, let's talk about the courage to go inside, because you just said that it's not easy to just go inward and sit with your inner child that is so freaking afraid and is just taking over the space and is not allowing the woman of 30 something years old, 40 something years old behave. It's just the wounded 5 years old child.
So,
and the
yeah.
courage to take that, it takes really courage to sit with that,
So I
with
think
that darkness, with that pain, and then just trust in yourself.
So there's two
that
important
everything will be
things.
fine, right? So it takes courage.
So you touch two different points here, right? You touch how do I connect to the inside, and how do I connect with my inner child, which is a big topic, and I know it's very trendy, right? But okay, so why is it important to connect to our inner child? So all the traumas and all the negative emotions that we have as adults.
You have.
Let's talk
about you.
about me.
Let's talk about you.
That I have as an adult came from when I was 0 to 7 years old, right? Because when we grow up, we don't understand what we're feeling, and we don't understand the world, because we're just building our cognitive senses, right? So I don't know, you're 4 years old in the park and you're playing, and then you're seeing that your mom is sitting in front of you, and you're like, okay, my mom is there, and then your mom tells the woman next to her, hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, can you watch my kids 2 seconds? And you're playing and you turn around and you don't see your mom. You don't understand that your mom just went to the bathroom. You're like, oh my god, I just got abandoned at this moment. And then you start feeling all these things, and then your mom comes here and you're like, oh, I'm safe, But then all that trauma, all that movement of you can't understand it when you're a kid. So that stays in your body, that stays in your mind. I mean, take it further. When you're a kid and you get picked up in the cradle, and then you're there in the cradle and your mom just goes to heat the milk. Oh my god, I'm abandoned, So, and it's all this trauma
in so many different ways. That's we call the little T. The little trauma to the biggest one, but it's just it's also it's just take courage. It's just take courage to see it, and that's the thing. And we are not always in that state to have that courage, but it's just the invitation to also, because it's not easy to have a support system, right? To have a support system to help you to just take that courage, because sometimes it's so.
I wanted to finish the point that is all the negative feelings that we have as an adult is because we don't remember that we have to embrace that inner child that went through all that, and we haven't honored that person that we used to be. So until we are able to hug that person that we used to be, and we understand that everything that we're living as adults comes from that place, then there's a disconnection. So when we learn to do that, then we embrace our inner child. So that's going back to the place of courage, is observing that, right? Mm-hmm. And then how do we connect? Because sometimes we think that going inside is staying in our mind. Sometimes we think that going inside is staying in our house and just thinking. I'm gonna think how I feel. Okay, because this happened, A, B plus C, and this happened. Going inside is just a question about feeling.
Yes.
Just a question about feeling. It's not really thinking, it's just feeling, feeling it in our body.
Yes.
Not thinking about it. So when we feel it,
that changes everything, right?
So when you ask me how do you go inside, it's physical.
Yeah, and that's again, it's not easy, because you just say something very important. It's not getting lost in the mind. It's just be able to really go back to the body and see how we are really feeling. And that's again for me when the word going in to get your power from within. It's empowerment from within, because I need to go in to really feel what the hell is going on inside myself. And first, okay, I need to attend whatever need I have. And then I go out and do whatever, right? But it's so important. It's really, really important what you say. It's just about going inside the body to feel it. And And again, for me, it's so important about community. As Warmipura, we are trying to create this community. Here, this is a community of arts, and here is the friends of Arantxa who are artists. And it's so important, like when we do this kind of thing, have that support. So it's really, really grateful that you are here, right? It's just, in this journey, we need that support. In this journey in which we are just exploring, navigating, the challenge of being here.
And being able to ask for help.
Exactly.
Being able to reach out. Like my friend that was like, hey, I need to see you. I'm super busy finishing this piece, but come, let's have a tea together and let's talk.
Yes.
But being able to ask for help, it's important. We don't ask for help nowadays. We don't ask for help these days. It's super hard to do it.
Yeah. So, okay.
Well, people also don't want to help.
And people also don't want to help. That's true. That's true. But that's why you have to know what's your support system, who you can ask.
And then you surround yourself by that kind of people. Then all of a sudden you start to, okay, I will create this support system. And she became part of my support system, and I became so mindful that how important it is to cultivate. So in the same way that when I need help, I need to give, right? So I need to give a hand if I really want to receive a hand too. And I think so that's also very important. We need to create it. The support system don't appear as a magic.
Yeah, you have to create your support system.
Yeah, and it's not easy to ask for help for sure. So, okay, I think so we've been talking a lot. So I would just invite somebody else to come in, to jump, to bring something that is present from wherever we share at the moment.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure, please.
How did you make that piece?
The one in the corner?
Yeah.
Okay, so this piece in the corner.
Tell us the name of that.
Okay, this piece in the corner. Oh my god, I'm super cold.
It's okay.
The piece in the corner is called Cipher to a Muse.
Oh, wow.
Cipher to a Muse, which means I'm not sure if this is telling me something. Literally. Like that's the translation of that name, because so I did all my series of strings with a natural dyed yarn through meditation. Like that was all my thesis work. And this is the first piece that came out after my thesis work that it's completely like the opposite of that one. It's store-bought yarn. It has spray paint. I didn't do it meditating. I did it listening to techno. It has mylar. Like it's completely like the opposite. The opposite like way of. I mean, listening to techno for me is kind of like a meditation as well. You know, because I love electronic music.
I feel like it's like a fast food version of this one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a what?
Like a fast food version of this one. Maybe.
It could. I mean, it could be a fast food version of that one. I don't know if I would call it that way, but it's kind of like a good comparison.
The polarity, the light and the darkness,
yeah,
because we're in light, you know.
I mean, but if you think about it, that could also be the darkness, and this could be the light. Like it depends which point you're looking at it. I mean, this is going super inside and like observing your mind, and that could be very dark. This is techno fun, but it can be also the other way.
Yeah.
Because that meditation could also I'm like embracing like my purest higher being, and I hear I'm like techno music, you know. So
but that also glows in the dark, so that also said something. Right?
Yeah, that also this one also glows in the dark. So that depending that like the perspective you want to look at it.
Sometimes I love fast food though. I just want to make that clear.
There's nothing wrong.
I used to play all the time.
So it's called Cipher to a Muse because when I finish, this is a piece that I feel that has spoken a lot to me. I feel that's a piece that it took me a while to wrap my head around it. At the beginning, I was like, I'm not sure if I really like this piece. I'm not sure if I know what it's saying to me. And it's a piece that I've been having in my space for the last 3 years. And it's slowly like inviting me to observe it in a different way. So I didn't know how it glowed with black light until like a year ago. I got it into a new place that I moved, and I got a black light and I put it, and I'm like, yes, of course it all glows because it's all full of fluorescent string, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, so that was like a surprise that the piece gave to me. I never imagined.
Did it make you like it a little bit more?
Yeah. So, but since the beginning, when I finished it, I'm like, I'm so unsure about this piece that I'm gonna call it Cipher to a Muse. Literally, because it's a cipher. It's like an enigma. Like, do I like it? Do I not? What does it say to me?
What is it?
I mean, I love it because literally it's a piece that has shown me like new things about it that I hadn't even like like seen.
Do you have bigger pieces than these?
I had bigger pieces than those ones, but they were site specific. So now they don't
Okay.
exist because I created them in a specific place
in
that I
an
had
area.
to. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Wow.
Yeah, and that's something very interesting that I just always wonder, like consistency, Arantxa, because I know her and she's constantly working and not endlessly doing one piece and now another, but you're doing this and like it's that consistency that for myself, whatever you are doing, but also as an entrepreneur, it was like, okay, we really need to be constant what we are doing. Okay, you take the decision, right? Okay, I will do this. I will become an artist in New York, and then you just gotta do it, right?
I mean, yeah, and then there's an example that I love that, for example, if you want to get a 6-pack, you can't just like do 500 abs one day. If you want to get a 6-pack, you have to do 100 abs every day for like a while. And that is consistency. You're not going to get the 6-pack even if you do like 1,000 abs one day. And that's it.
Is that like a metaphor for being a successful artist in New York? Or?
It's a metaphor for being a successful person in whatever
life.
you want to call it.
Yes.
It's just consistency and a little by little. Sometimes we feel that we have to. Sometimes I feel, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring it back to myself. Sometimes I feel that that doing a lot is what's going to take me further. But no, it's doing a little every day what's going to take me deeper. And the deeper, the further. The deeper, the higher. It's not the further, So it's that. It's about consistency. It's about doing a little bit every day of whatever it is. I'm going to try to eat a little bit healthy today. I'm going to try to do a little bit of drawing today. I'm going to try to make my bed as much as I can every day. Like, it's consistency.
Yes.
If you just put like the word consistency like somewhere there in your like head, then you know that that's what's going to keep you going. So yeah, it's consistent.
And it's also that we were talking about like it's consistency also into keep really like checking this mindset that we all carry. And again, it's like this conversation goes around Women's History Month and the journey and the story of women that came before us. And now we are here, and most of us came with a history of, I'm a victim.
I'm a victim.
And how much we need to keep that consistency into training our mindset. I'm not a freaking victim anymore. I'm the heroine of my story. And how the heroine of the story will show up, whether you are an artist, you are a musician, you are whatever you are, an entrepreneur as I am, is like for how long I will be like getting stuck in the mindset that I am the victim. And it's freaking hard because of course we carry it from the women of our lineage. And it was no one to blame, right? It's no one to blame, but it's just the mindset. And freaking hard when I thought that consistency was about like my job or the things I do, and it helped me, of course, to move forward. But it's consistency for me also in the mindset of keep checking from where this is coming. I'm just reacting from my victim mindset that is so ingrained in every single cell of my body, or just stopping and just doing like, okay, I'm the heroine of this story, and how the heroine of the story will show up. But how that it comes from you when you like are in this consistency also, as you say, the upside downs that you are enduring. And for me, like the fact that even if you are having a really hard time, you are here as the heroine of your story, sharing what's going on.
So I think this is a good cue to talk about that piece in the back, and then go tie it back to the point that I said about embracing the darkness within us, right? Because okay, so like how do we learn to not be a victim? How do we learn to not be a victim?
It's
how do I learn?
You need to train, right?
So the way that I've learned again to not be a victim is to really observe again like that darkness that is making me blame everyone else for what's going on in my life and not myself. Like, it's like, oh, this person shouted at me, or this person did this to me. And if I'm all the time in the story of that person, I'm not really like, what did I create? Because we are the creators of our lives. Like, at the end of the day, and you said it to me this morning, right? I was like, oh my God, I've been so busy. And you're like, yeah, that's the life you chose. It's choices. We chose. I mean, yeah, we can take it a little bit deeper, and it can get a little bit problematic. That are people that really live victimized and really live with abuse. That's another conversation, you know. But I'm talking more about, like, okay, we're in New York, we're working. Like, let me take this conversation to, like, where we're now. Like, how do we not victimize ourselves? It's like taking really, like, accountability for what we are creating for ourselves, you know. So, for example, this piece that I made here, this piece it has a very narcissistic title, okay? This piece is called This Piece Has My Name. Literally, that's the name of that piece. And I created that piece while I was going through a breakup with my last partner that I was with him for 2 years. We lived in the same apartment, so it was kind of like a little divorce, right? And I created this piece in the middle of my grieving process. So every day when I went to the studio, going through all this, like, okay, are we gonna break up? Are we gonna stay together? Who's gonna keep what furniture? What's gonna happen? Like, in the middle of all that turmoil, I created this piece, observing how I was feeling in that moment. So then you can think like, oh, you're in your darkest times, or you're gonna create this work that it's all gray and full of, like, darkness, and doesn't have to do anything with that, you know. Like, if you see that piece is full of color, it's a star, it's full of light, and I created it from, like, my darkest place, when I had no idea what was going in my life, when I had no idea that this man that I thought I was gonna marry didn't happen, you know. But it was a piece that accompanied me through a grieving process, because it just helped me stay in the present moment, observing what I was going through while I was creating it. And you say, like, oh, for you it's easy because you're an artist, but if I'm just a person sitting in a computer writing emails, how am I gonna, like, reach those spaces? Just observe yourself through what you do. When you wash your teeth, you know, like, really observe those darkest moments and not fighting with them. It's just becoming friends with your darkness.
That's to become this. For me, that's what it means. Be the heroine of your own story.
Be your heroine. So you're not the victim. You're like, yes, I feel like this. I'm gonna take accountability. I'm just gonna accept it, and then slowly, as you accept it, it just starts washing.
Yeah. So, well.
Is there cement in the middle of that? Like what? Like, what's the?
Yeah, it's a texture that I made mixing wood, mixing paint, glue. So it's like
a cracking. That's what I feel like at the cracking part.
Yeah. So yeah, all the pieces have this, like, cement, if you want to call it, and then they have the plexiglass on top, and then I sewn the plexiglass together.
It's fire.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. We should start to wrap it out. Please, again, just feel free to interrupt. But the last point that we also wanted to just kind of open the conversation for, talking about relationships and breakups, how we need to let go, right? We need to learn to really let go that heaviness that sometimes we are carrying, and we need to let go people, circumstances, partners, right?
Yeah,
we just need to let go, because it's too heavy that it will sink you instead of allowing you to rise up.
I mean,
and how important is, like, we are so attuned that we are able to identify what do we really want to let go, and what is really beneficial to let go, and stop to keep carrying, right? How that works for you?
I mean, I think that, and again, this is like this has to do with consistency. We have to be very constant, and it's gonna sound dark, but, like, please, like, bear with me. We have to be constant every day of the fact that we're dying every second. We're dying every second, literally. We're walking to that. So being very present in the idea and the thought every day that we're dying every moment, not also makes me embrace the divine presence of the present moment, but makes me realize what is worth
and you can
carrying in that moment.
And you cannot control anything, right?
Yes, exactly.
you cannot control. So I feel like that's the hardest thing.
So
let go control.
Letting go also has to do with fine-tuning what I can really embrace in that moment. Like, for example, right now, COVID stopped and I was super fortunate to receive like 7 projects at the same time, you know, and that's amazing and it's incredible. And after like this 2 years that were very dark for all of us, suddenly things start changing. So I decided to take all these projects that I've been working on. And sadly, last week, I had to sit down with myself and realize that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and the weekend, I had to be working all the time. And I have no time for self-care. I don't have time to take a half-hour bath at night, because if I take the half-hour bath at night, then I don't send the email that I have to send for this and that. If I don't, like, literally, like that, those little things, I started realizing that I didn't have space for everything. So I had to take the harsh decision to let go of one project. So then letting go of a project that was important for me opened up my Wednesdays morning, you know? So at least I have a day to like go to the laundry, you know? But like, and going to the laundry is like having a little walk where I buy a coffee and I carry my bag and then I drop it off. And that's self-care, you know? I have a little space to like have one morning where I can do some emails in my pajamas and not be rushing to a meeting, or not be rushing to like paint a mural, or not be rushing to my studio, you know? So taking a decision to open space
to create
for myself
space.
To create is important. But yes, so letting go of opportunities, is letting go of money, is making people sad because I had already compromised with this project, but letting go gives me the strength and the space to be better in all the other things that I'm acting
and to keep
on.
creating.
And to keep creating.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for me, because let go for me was like let go so much.
It's a little depth. Letting go feels like a little depth sometimes.
Yeah, because it's let go of people that you like, situations, opportunities. But how important is like if I want to be the heroine of my story, we were talking about, I need to be able to arrange and let go things so I can create a space for taking care of myself. Because if not, this don't go anywhere. And it's like, doesn't matter what it feels one day when you have your own ways, but it's so important. I feel like for a long time, like women being carry a lot of this heavy weight of need to be responsible for everything and neglecting their own needs and neglecting always what they want. Their self-care was the last thing, because always was about, look at your mom, look at your grandma. I was always taking care about that family, right? That husband, that kids, always, and never time. And it's like wait. Like we really need to be able to let go things, situations, people, to just be able to really take care of ourselves. Regroup, exactly. Even if it takes up 5 minutes. So
regroup to be better in the groups.
Yeah,
I'm gonna name a piece like that.
So we are just wrapping it up now.
Any questions, any comments,
if you will have,
anecdotes?
yes, please go ahead. It will be very, very. I will just say goodbye here. Thank you for joining us.
I just wanted to say thank you for this, because literally everything you're talking about is like what I'm going through right now. So I feel delivered and deliverance, so thank you.
I know, thank you for being here. You created this for yourself.
Yes. You say, I need someday a conversation about these things. So you see, it appeared for you.
Yeah, we're creating all the time.
There's some creators in the mix, music. You do plays on Broadway and stuff like that, right?
Wow.
So there's some creators. They can relate, I'm sure.
Nice, love it.
Yes.
So thank you for your vulnerability.
For what?
For your vulnerability.
Vulnerability, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to bear with us and supporting us. And it means a lot. It means a lot. We were talking about how it really means a lot, be able to have the space, share our stories, and we have the privilege to be able to do it here. So let's honor those voices.
Yeah. Yeah, it means a lot.
are
Yeah,
coming.
it means a lot. Everyone here, everyone that connected, everyone that's gonna see the video later, whatever. Like, yeah, thank you so
How
much.
can we catch your next cacao ceremony?
Oh yes, I will
You gonna do it in
love.
the city? Okay.
Yeah, you should. Do it
I
here.
think so. I really like this space for a cacao ceremony.
Yeah,
so
Fiorella.
definitely.
Yeah, Fiorella does really nice cacao ceremonies. So
And I
stay tuned.
that's the way I bring my indigenous Peruvian roots, and that's what I feel like. Oh wow, yeah, let's bring that medicine to these spaces. So yeah, that's my journey.
Yeah.
So thank you so much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Yeah.
We have fun.